put people on watch for is when we get back to Ethereum again, and this whole OFAC thing, the idea of OFAC compliance being desirable or being something that you want to do. Like if you're Coinbase and you're just passing things in and out, that's one thing. If you're Coinbase and you're running validators, that's a very different, very dangerous thing. You guys shouldn't be running validators because you can't defend the values that you should be promoting to your customers by doing so. And a lot of people aren't going to like that.
As society went from dial-up modems to near-constant online presence via smartphones, how individuals engaged with networks underwent a pivotal shift. The internet became not only a place for people to access vast amounts of information and connect with others, but also an avenue for corporations and governments to harvest swaths of information. Edward Snowden says that this shift away from the internet's roots was partly a result of corporations that prioritized growth and didn't put users first. The former NSA contractor turned whistleblower, known for revealing an unlawful mass surveillance program in the U.S. in 2013, said he sees a similar trend emerging when it comes to the adoption of cryptocurrencies. Snowden compared the way cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase onboards users to the way Facebook became synonymous with social media. We're seeing people exploiting the kind of ignorance that made so many people now think tapping the Facebook app on your phone is the internet and now think crypto is Coinbase or something else equally horrible as that, he said. Coinbase claims to have prioritized regulatory compliance since its earliest days, and the company has asserted that working with regulators is key to the widespread acceptance of cryptocurrencies as an asset class. Snowden, in a recent interview, said that Coinbase has put regulatory compliance over the founding ideals of blockchain-based networks, an innovation that could tilt power back into the hands of internet users. The implications of this decision would be further explored in the video as we go on. Also, he comments on Bitcoin and Ether security. As we go into the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and drop your comments.
Bitcoin is really bad on privacy. I think the only people who do it worse actually are Ethereum. And that's because they use the account-based model as opposed to the address-based model. But a lot of people only use like one account. So they see it's like as if you were using Bitcoin, you were just reusing the same wallet. You get this giant history cruft that just follows you wherever. And then you create all these chain explorers. And then people see, every smart contract you've interacted with on Ethereum, and it's problematic. Bitcoin suffers from the same thing, but at least largely because there's not as much contract-based activity on Bitcoin. They only see, address A sends to address B and so on. They follow it out. They chart it. They see where it splits on the chain, and then they try to go where it goes back to a common node, or they track spends, or they go where it goes through KYC gateways, and they find out it with the tools that I had at the NSA. In like 2013, tracking Bitcoin transactions would have been very, very easy. And this is why, even though I used Bitcoin to rent the servers that I used for communicating with journalists and passing, massive archive files over the internet anonymously, I was using Tor. I was using sort of mixing services. I was trying to basically do anything that would buy time. It wasn't that I thought the NSA wouldn't be able to follow the trail. It was that, I'd have to go to this guy and then I'd get routed over to the office and then they wait on it because they had other things to do. And it wasn't until there would be a sustained effort that they would be able to do this. And by then I would have already contacted the journalists, so the door would be closed. Normal Bitcoin users don't have that level of awareness. They don't understand the network flows. They don't understand simply your IP address sending, this transaction to this node that then passes it on. All of that leaves a history that is largely being recorded. There are ways on Bitcoin that they can improve this, and they're done like coin join transactions and the whole join market thing, which are great, but they're way too technical for average people. We see some wallet providers who are trying to build in their own mixers, and that's great. It's an improvement, but it's really not enough. You have to have this stuff in the protocol. It has to happen on chain. And that's where you see things like, Monero is great. I use Monero, right? People think I'm like a super Monero hater, and no, they've got a couple super toxic people in their community. And there were some bad design decisions like a million years ago. And it's not perfect, right? But what is? Zcash has its own flaws too. And then Zcash, it's also great, but for a lot of people, they're not using the shielded transactions, or at least they weren't using the shielded transactions. Now it's getting easier. They've got mobile clients that will actually, you'll do a transparent transaction and then it'll roll you over to a shielded transaction automatically. And these things are great. This is what we need, though. We need people to be able to transact on chain at any time and effortlessly without their awareness, the same way that when you connect to, Gmail through a web browser.
Regulation is yet another factor that DEX investors should consider. Because of a series of hacks and rug pulls of unaudited decentralized exchanges, European and US regulators cracked down on the industry, making the functionality of most DEXs limited and causing their users to face consequences in certain jurisdictions. Back in 2020, Edward Snowden predicted the upcoming rally of the first cryptocurrency that dragged it to the current all-time high of $69,000. However, Snowden stated that he has zero financial education and people should not consider his thoughts as serious predictions or analyses. In the interview, he went ahead to further elaborate on the differences between the proof of work and proof of stake of the Ether blockchain and its advantages and disadvantages. Let us get back into the video and listen to what he says.
What I'm talking about, for those of you who are less familiar, is the censorship problem on the Ethereum blockchain right now. Since they moved from proof of work to proof of stake, I wrote about this actually many years ago, but I kind of got it wrong. I said proof of work basically creates a lot of problems in one direction, waste of energy, e-waste, and things like that. Sure, we understand it. We're running a giant math contest, and the only prize is the next block, the block reward from that. But on the other hand, when you move to proof of stake, you bypass all of that wasted effort, but you have then entrenched a system in which the rich get richer. So which of these is more desirable? Well, then when we go, the people who are rich have much more to lose from breaking the rules. You see that you start to create an inevitably more centralized network over time. And this is a big problem. Now, this is a major experiment. It's very interesting. I think the proof of stake thing on Ethereum is great, and it's something we want to see succeed. But this centralization thing we haven't dealt with, and OFAC has really pounced on this. If 2/3 of a blockchain's transactions are censored, that's a fail state. At that point, you might as well be using PayPal. And I'm sorry to say that because I hate PayPal and I love Ethereum. But everyone involved in the Ethereum ecosystem needs to understand that this is an existential threat to the project. This is what I mean by do or die moment. If 2% of transactions are censored, okay, sure, you just wait for the next block. But if one idiot sitting behind a desk in Washington can stamp a piece of paper without so much as passing a law, and in a few months, every other block in your network, or 2 out of 3 on your network, and it's still creeping up, so it's going to be 8 out of 10, every block in your network is getting stopped and frisked. You're the opposite of decentralized. And if you think that this thing with Tornado Cash is the last paper that somebody in Washington is going to stamp, you're going to have a very bad time over the next decade. So I think the right move here is for people involved in these kind of projects, for people running validators, for people working on protocols, for people working the KYC gateways, is to say, look, if Washington wants to censor transactions, you are more than welcome to on your own validators. You can buy your own ETH, you can stake it on your own nodes, and you can censor to your little heart's delight. But you are not the king of the internet.
Snowden is sharply critical of Bitcoin for many of the same reasons he is critical of the traditional financial system. At last year's Ethereum Summit, Snowden said Bitcoin must become private by design to counter law. Enforcement efforts to crack down on other cryptocurrencies, including privacy coins like Monero. During this year's Ethereum Summit, he said that Ether suffers from the same sort of privacy problems as Bitcoin, and said that with the Bitcoin blockchain, you get chain analysis people and whatnot who are doing fairly devious things with it, such as try and get a financial edge out of the on-chain analysis. Snowden's remarks are met with so much backlash from various people, while some believe it is the best course of action for cryptocurrencies if they must thrive in the future. What do you think of Snowden's outlook? Let us know in the comment section below. Remember to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching.